Well, yes, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Is the microphone loud enough? I hope so. I think it is. Okay. Yes, my name is Martin Drechsler. I have the pleasure to work for the FSM in Germany, which is not the maker of a very famous small car, but is an organization active in the field of self-regulation. We advise companies in all fields of online service and telecommunications on all matters regarding child protection online. And we put into practice a lot of projects with them in the field of media education. And recently we've spoken to them a lot of privacy and, of course, the GDPR. And some of the ideas around this I will present to you in my talk. Should I take it? Okay. It's better now. All right. So, privacy is a good thing. It is a human achievement that we can independently decide to keep things to ourselves and not share them with others. We close our curtains when we sit on our couch and don't want our neighbors to see us. We don't tell our colleagues how much money we make. And also we are happy that our little secret is safe with our doctor. And then we go online. We post selfies in social media and share the latest Netflix show we've seen. And we boast about the new expensive mobile phone we've just bought and how we've got a fantastic deal and paid much less than everybody else. And we discuss the most revolting symptoms which we've just discovered this morning when we looked in the mirror, only to find out that it must be cancer. The concept of privacy also includes the ability to disclose our secrets. So we can leave the window blinds open, so our neighbor will know if it's worth to join the party. We can tell everybody how much money we make and that our boss has just given us a huge bonus. And we can speak freely about our medical condition. When we use online services, it may be difficult to control or to manage our privacy. Some of the most popular services can be used free of charge. And as David Wright just pointed out, there is no such thing as a free service. But most of us know that advertisements work best when they are tailored to the people who see them. So online services will use the information we reveal of ourselves. Because we still want to keep our secrets, there are rules for data protection. The most important rules can now be found in the European General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR. The first half of this year was packed with news about data protection and privacy and how everything's going to change under the new law. Every single law firm in Europe suddenly seemed to specialize in data protection, and the alarming messages about how each and every website needed to be changed and revised kept on coming in. A German expert in the field of internet law estimated that companies throughout Europe spent at least 2.3 billion euros, or almost 10 billion zloty, for legal advice regarding the implementation of the GDPR. A positive side effect of the GDPR from a citizen's perspective was that we were suddenly asked for our consent. What a pleasant experience. Day after day, my inbox was flooded with requests for my consent. I stopped counting the mails I was receiving, all of them reassuring me that privacy was the main concern of virtually everybody and every company. And it was kind of interesting to see who had stored my email address and other personal information about me. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the new rules and how they differ from existing laws. I'm not going to criticize the GDPR or the process in which it was made. Instead, I'd like to praise the GDPR for a remarkable achievement. For at least half a year, the whole of Europe was discussing privacy and data protection. And the awareness of our personal information being used by companies, online as well as offline, received a huge boost. Data protection was a topic we discussed at work and with our friends and family, at parties, and even my hairdresser handed me a leaflet about how they were using my personal information to provide the best haircutting experience. This brings me to our main topic, keeping children and young people safe online. Young people use online services every day, and many of these services require personal information and personal data to function properly. The law trusts us adults that we will make the right decisions when it comes to sharing personal information. Of course, sufficient explanations and information are necessary, and they are therefore a legal requirement. Young people, however, are less experienced and may not be able to fully understand the effect of sharing personal data. Well, this is a natural thing and valid for many aspects of human existence. Consequently, the GDPR requires parents to act in certain situations. But what exactly is the right age from which children are able to make choices related to digital privacy on their own? Before the GDPR, almost no European country had an explicit rule on that question. In Germany, for example, the consent of a minor was sufficient if this particular minor, in this particular situation, was able to understand what was happening. The courts, which had to decide on such cases, roughly estimated the correct age to be between 12 and 14. In the making of the GDPR, 13 years was considered somewhat okay for that matter. And this would be quite practical because most American online services were bound to a minimum age of 13 for different reasons. However, only a few days before the decisive vote in the European Parliament, all of a sudden the age level was set to 16, with possible exceptions in the national laws to as low as 13. Now, this is bad for so many reasons, one of them being the idea to use a European regulation in the first place was to provide one standard in the European Union. And since these new rules would mainly be valid for online services, which, as a matter of fact, are usually not limited by country borders, the variety of national rules we are now once again facing is even worse. Germany decided to keep 16 as the relevant age, with no discussion at all. Poland was discussing 13. In a draft law, it was explained that the age of 13 should be chosen because the Polish Civil Code uses the same age threshold for the ability for young people to conclude minor contracts of daily life. So the idea was that young people who can manage a certain amount of money would also be able to carefully express their consent for the processing of personal data. This sounded like a reasonable approach. And then you find out that in Germany, minors from the age of 7 can conclude such minor contracts of daily life. So there goes your harmonization. In the end, this article was crossed out of the Polish law at the very last moment, keeping it also 16 in Poland. The speaker from the ministry who was here with us earlier didn't go into detail on this. I'm not sure if the ability to enter into a contract is always sufficient to answer all questions regarding data protection and the relevant consent. But throughout Europe, this question remains to be seen or remains to be solved by courts, and also the data protection authorities are somewhat uncertain about this question. And a lot of businesses who deal with this situation will also have to wait and see what will happen. And from the explanation of the speaker from the ministry, I take it that their approach is somewhat different from what their German colleagues do. So I guess that throughout Europe we will see numerous approaches to these questions, and the idea to have harmonized regulation in Europe is surely a thing for, well, for the future years to see. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't despair. Finally, someone had the wits to fund an in-depth research in order to scientifically determine which age level would be the correct one. Naturally, it must be the European Commission, you might say. Well, in fact, it isn't. It's the Information Commissioner's Office in the United Kingdom. Together with two colleagues, Professor Sonia Livingston from the London School of Economics is reviewing the evidence on children's conception of privacy online, their capacity to consent, how they are able to manage privacy settings, and their deeper understanding of how digital business models work and how they use personal data. The scientists are focusing on how children develop media literacy by age, and they will report their results very soon. This research will hopefully provide us with the necessary insights, which will eventually lead to legislation based on facts rather than on vague assumptions. Now, we've done some research too. We wanted to know better how child protection measures actually work, how families experience online risks, and how they cope with them. Last year, we published a major study which we've called the Youth Media Protection Index. For this study, we spoke to young people from 9 to 16 years old and their parents. In a representative survey, we asked them about their concerns, knowledge, attitudes, and actions in the field of online safety. When it came to concerns regarding privacy and data protection, we focused on the potential consequences of online risks. Online risks for this survey were separated into risks related to content, contract, contact, and conduct. I've selected two details of the study which I'd like to share with you now. First, concerns related to spying on personal data of children. 1 in 3 parents is concerned about this, and parents with younger children worry more. When we asked young people, 20% of them were worried about their personal data being spied on by strangers. The percentage among teenagers was significantly higher, though. Second, the risk of publishing too much personal information. 36% of the parents we asked were worried that their kids reveal too much of themselves online. The numbers are higher among parents of girls. Asking young people, half of the 15 to 16-year-olds are concerned. And 1 in 3 have already had the experience that too much personal information was shared online. Once again, it's more relevant with girls. So we see that privacy and data protection are important aspects in young people's lives. It is good that we pay special attention on how their personal information is used online. And it is probably just as important to empower them to choose wisely what they share with whom and what services they use. And we've just heard in the last presentation that young people find that the GDPR helps to raise this awareness, which is a very good outcome, I think. When we speak about empowerment, providers of websites for children are crucial. There is a great variety of online content specifically aimed at children, ranging from entertainment to political education to sex education. Many of these websites, at least in Germany, and I guess throughout Europe it's the same, many of these websites are provided by NGOs and by people who do this as their hobby. And these people were, together with the rest of the internet, scared about the effects of the GDPR. A considerable number of them even closed their websites because they thought that they would not be able to run it in compliance with the new law. To help them, we are publishing a new online brochure later this month titled Children's Websites and GDPR, This Works Well. We want to show them how to implement GDPR requirements in a legally compliant way. Also, we want to contribute to the awareness of young people, parents, and media education specialists. We are providing low-threshold information with checklists and guidelines, use a language which is easy to understand, but is still detailed enough to make the material a useful reference in this complicated legal area. To cover as much aspects as possible, we include links to other materials which focus on specific questions in even greater detail. The digital brochure will be available under a Creative Commons license, which will make it easy for others to work with the material, add their thoughts, or extract what they find most useful. Moreover, since the topics covered by this brochure are relevant throughout Europe, translations in other languages will be easy. So if you are interested in making a Polish version or an English version, or indeed any other language, or should you know someone, then please do get in touch and we will be happy to provide the raw documents. Thank you very much.